Hi, and welcome to today's podcast, Tuesday, June 18th. Hopefully you're staying cool. If you hear a hum behind me, it's one of the many fans we have in the building because half of our building is a lot like Monroe and the surrounding areas was last night, Monday night into Tuesday morning, which is without air conditioning. And as I sit here, I don't know if Retro Skate 2 is going to happen on Friday. I am for doing it for a handful of reasons. The reason it will not likely happen is because currently the heat advisory goes through 8 o'clock on Friday night. Some of the reasons why I thought we could pull it off is it is in the evening, even though it will be, I think, like the second longest day of the year as far as sunshine is concerned, because the solstice is on Thursday. Wouldn't get dark till like 10 o'clock. So that's both good and bad, but it is in the evening. It's not in the middle of the day. 30% of the park is filled with water, the giant splash pad and the other water activities that are at Glass City Metropark. It's not a ticket event. It's free. We would encourage you to come, but you certainly don't have to. There's Market Hall, which is plenty air conditioned, and there'd be water available. But the last thing, it's CYA. The Shakespeare line, I think, kill all the lawyers. It would be unwise to do it because if a single person got sick and had some type of medical emergency, or God forbid, even worse, we would probably be at the tip of the spear of getting in a lot of trouble. I'm curious how the Metroparks attendance is with last night, today, and Wednesday and Thursday as well. That might also help us make a decision, but that heat advisory is a big warning and a big caution to not do it. It's been 15 years since I bought any kind of jersey. I just realized I'm too old for this. I'm retiring this. They don't look good. They're becoming more and more expensive. Too many reasons to not buy them. But when Quinion Mitchell, the star cornerback from UT, was drafted in the first round, I think the second highest player from UT ever drafted was drafted by my hometown team, the Philadelphia Eagles, that people are more familiar with because of the Kelsey brothers, Jason, Travis, all that stuff, and a lot of Jason's antics. Once the Eagles were out of the playoffs in their podcast, the Eagles drafted Quinion Mitchell, and I'm like, you know what? Even if I have to buy the authentic kind, which is like $130, actually, that's not. I think those are the replicas these days. The actual authentic ones are twice that. Yeah, forget that. So, thankfully, an old friend knows of these sites overseas, and they seem a bit questionable. They seem a bit sketchy, but this is really some of the best $34 that I've spent in some time. It probably took a month to get here, maybe a little bit less. It was $20-some for the jersey. The rest was shipping. Showed up. No damage. It's a little big, but it is what it is. Maybe I just don't know sizing on jerseys real well. There is one, not even an imperfection, there is one error compared to the 2024 jersey that Quinion Mitchell and other Eagles will wear. You would never recognize it. It's something only my eyes caught, and you know, real diehard fans and fans of jerseys might catch. Other than that, be like, how much was this? I could be like $20 and some shipping. And a lot of people have asked for this site. I think it was dhgate.com. A little confusing to navigate to get exactly what you want, but it worked out. I hope it's going to work out better than last year, the first year. Disabled and Proud Fest. Let's talk about that now on July 6th with my friend, Valerie Fatica, the city's disability manager, here now. She's been back for the 58th time. She is Valerie Fatica. That's Fatica for those that like to mispronounce it. Am I one of the first people who got to know you who didn't mispronounce it?
Did you pronounce it correctly the first time?
Yes.
Then you are one of the first
I
ones.
am good with people. I grew up in a town with a lot of people who had vowels at the end of their name.
Oh, that's fair.
So I'm good. But welcome back.
Thank you.
You're here to talk about Disabled and Proud, which it has a bit of a new name this year.
So this year is a little different. We had Disabled and Proud Fest last year. This year, Metroparks Toledo approached us and wanted a partner. They said, hey, we usually do these inclusive outdoor expo. You know, our populations intersect. We want to, be able to get more people, and we think it'd be a good partnership. So, yeah, it's a new partnership this year. It's going to be out at Swan Creek, and we're really excited about what we both can offer here.
I know they're always offering a lot of their portable accessible activities all over. So it's great that they came to you with this. I'm sure there was, as you are the disability manager of the city, you are not an event coordinator.
Correct.
Was it Nat who came to you?
No, it was Ashley Smith, who I've worked with before, and I've been involved with the Metroparks personally. And then they came to our event last year to showcase some of their inclusive activities and recreation things. So we had that standing relationship there.
Must have been a bit of a revelation to have them come offer this, and not only like the stuff that we'll talk about, some of the activities and pieces that they have, but come to the park too. Like this had to be a sigh of relief in a lot of ways.
Right, a great venue, plenty of parking, very accessible. It certainly took a lot of burden off of us, and the city doesn't have funding for a lot of like events, for instance, especially in my budget. So to be able to form this partnership, which I hope continues annually, it's a great opportunity.
When you have to come to me looking for a DJ, you are the fish out of water, right? Because that was last year.
Yeah, I'm not an event planner. I don't, we have to do the 3 quotes and pick somebody and do all that and think about logistics and porta potties and everything, which is not my wheelhouse. So that was new for me. So having a little bit of support this year is helpful.
So this is, are we getting to the 2-year anniversary?
Yeah, 2 years as of June 10th. Yeah.
You were the first ever because the job was created and then you took the role as disability manager?
Yeah, it's a new position. ADA coordinator was kind of assigned to somebody else within the city, but that wasn't their only role. So my role is ADA coordinator like every city has, but above and beyond that, it is a full-time position. So I get to do a lot of these other initiatives. We just held some extra training for city employees this morning, so really able to focus on not just being compliant with the ADA, but really being an inclusive and accessible community.
A heads up here real fast, July 6th. So save some Independence Day energy for Disabled and Proud. The Expo, the Fest with the Metroparks at Swan Creek. I think it's 11 to 4 those times, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's plenty more on the city page. In fact, I think if you text PROUD to 419-240-1055, I'll get you the city link so you don't have to navigate through the city site.
Yep, sounds good.
We'll come back to that. In 2 years, how have you changed? How has the job changed? What are you happy to have accomplished? Because 2 years in what you're doing, it could be a lifetime.
Yeah. So, with it being a new position, there's a lot of, getting to know how the city works. I came from private practice to government entity. So there was a lot of that going on. But we've been able to kind of, I've seen, departments are siloed, but starting to think about things differently. And rather than me saying, hey, we should think about this or this is going to be an issue, they are think of things on their own. And that's what we want to do. Is it shouldn't just be anything disability related is going to the disability manager, but this should be on everybody's minds. So making that slow progress has been helpful. So there's little projects here and there, but just kind of make sure that being mindful of this permeates the organization is really a good goal.
Don't give them too many of the tips, hints, and tricks. You won't have your job anymore. They can't know everything.
They won't know everything.
Good.
They'll be close.
Are there some projects that you have overseen, been a part of? Obviously, Disabled and Proud, but projects per se. And I know even predating COVID, we were trying to be the most accessible city across the country, the most welcoming in that regard. And we talk about that every time we chat. But are there any projects that have worked towards that, or projects that you've been a part of that you're proud of?
Sure. Something that council passed actually was the closed captioning ordinance in the city of Toledo, so that if you have a TV on at a waiting room or a hotel, or a bar or restaurant, that you have to have the captions on. And that was passed, but it was, how do we actually implement this? So I worked with teams in the city, in the different departments, to figure out, how does that process look like? Who do you report to? This is about compliance, not slapping people with fines. So getting that implemented and spreading the word on that has been a good project as well.
You want to teach somebody, I guess, like what you explain with the city employees, not tell them to do something. So what was your process to get people on board, whether it's doctor's offices or bars or restaurants, so there wasn't so much negative pushback?
So for one thing, it's an education piece. So we tried to put out some education saying, this is important for not only people who are deaf or have a hearing disability, but those who may be learning English. It's beneficial for a lot of different people, or if it's just loud in that bar or restaurant. Yeah. I love having captions, frankly.
Totally.
So the education piece was important, and then the steps. We're not going to just send you a fine in the mail. The first thing you're going to get is a letter from my department saying, hey, by the way, we have this ordinance. This is what it's about. This is what you need to do. And it serves as an educational piece, and then comes a warning from code compliance. But making sure people are aware of it is definitely the first step.
This had to be pretty easy for most places. I think we have all seen a button on our remote or in the settings of our TVs before, where most of these places can just go, oh, not a big deal, flip the switch.
Yeah, every TV after like 1990 something has closed captioning available on it. There's some instructions on our website about how to do it for some technology. But yeah, it's free. All you do is click that CC button and should be available for everybody.
And if all else would have failed, you could have just gone to all the places downtown and said, people who are hard of hearing like to get drunk just like every other Toledoan.
That's right.
Before we come back to, and I promise we'll do Disabled and Proud Fest, again, July 6th, 11 to 4 at Swan Creek. It's free. And yes, there will be food trucks there. I want to ask you about your trip to Minneapolis, if I may.
Oh, yeah, sure. Last week, I was able to go to the 2024 National ADA Symposium in Minneapolis. So this is, the biggest national thing for people in the field. So ADA coordinators and architects. And so there was a lot of, national topics of interest, whether it's employment, architecture. A lot of corrections people were there. I think there have been a lot of lawsuits in that arena as it relates to disability and accommodating those in prison with disabilities. So really it was a great educational piece. Personally, I went to, I did my ADA coordinator stuff, but there was something about airline travel, which I'm personally interested in. So it was actually a really great conference.
Talk about the airline travel. Our friend Katie Shelley from TMA is headed to Korea soon.
Wow.
Did you know about this?
No.
Yeah, she's going to Korea. Petunia stays at home, but Mom is going. She's going to, I think, teach some classes over there. And she obviously, with travel, has some concerns. Can you talk about your personal experiences with getting on the planes?
Sure. So traveling with on a plane with a disability, especially a wheelchair, is a nightmare. We're 30 years behind where we should be. I am one of the most independent people, but when you get on a plane, it's not even that the planes are inaccessible. It's that the policies and procedures don't make sense. They're not followed. Employees don't know what they're doing. The equipment is not good for a lot of people. The aisle chairs that they use to transport people down the aisles, I'm so short that the straps go around my neck. It's like a Hannibal Lecter situation. And then you're the first one, you're the last one off. Most of the restrooms aren't accessible, so I can't drink on the plane. I mean, it's a giant nightmare. Tons of wheelchairs get damaged on the planes themselves. So it's just, it's really a risk anytime you get on a plane.
I don't think you'd have to sell anybody that airlines are a nightmare and they're harder for anyone who might have some challenges otherwise, because I don't know anybody who's like, can't wait to take that flight.
Yeah.
It's a hassle from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing not to just impugn us here in America Airlines and whatever else. Is this a global problem?
Yeah. And sometimes, we talked about who's responsible for what. So sometimes it's the airport with things at the airport. Sometimes it's the airline. TSA, I always tell people, every time I go through, their process is if you have a mobility device, if you're in a wheelchair, you get groped every time. you can't get around that. There's got to be a better way.
Right.
So there's different entities involved and problems at each stage.
I do my traveling on Wikipedia. I don't have to worry about such nonsense.
Yeah, well, enjoy the non-groping.
Can we talk about Minneapolis? Minneapolis, a lot of people might think, well, it's a lot like a lot of Midwestern places, and it's not. They're not so Rust Belt, and it's a pretty forward-looking town. I remember when I went a long, long time ago. This must have been in like a conference in 2004 or 5. I was utterly fascinated by how all the buildings were connected with
the Skyway.
Yeah, the Skyway. You could walk 15 blocks and never be outside. It's so frighteningly cold there, and I was wondering if, that was a long time ago, if there's other things that they have done that you wish we might have had here because they are so forward-looking.
First of all, the Skyway isn't on a regular block grid. I got lost for a half hour when it was raining in that darn Skyway. But they're downtown, and we stayed downtown for the conference hotel and the conference center. It was very accessible as far as, sidewalks, curb cuts, all that stuff. And there was also public transportation was really nice, too. I actually took the light rail from a terminal in the airport down to my hotel and everything else. So that was really convenient as well. Lots of, bars and restaurants and places to see downtown. You could take the light rail to the Mall of America, which I did not do, but I liked it for the short time I was there.
If I recall, again, this was, 20 years ago now. Time moves. I was like, that is and I had been in a lot of cities. It was the cleanest city of that size I'd ever been in. Is it still like that?
It was pretty clean. You go down some streets and it was a little trashy, and I'm not sure what their cleaning schedule is. But yeah, it was clean, and I felt safe too.
Good. Let's bring it back here. Let's talk a little bit more about Disabled and Proud Fest happening on the 6th. I'd say the marquee event will be the 3-on-3, will be the wheelchair basketball tournament.
Sure. So that's one of the events we have, and it does require pre-registration. So we try to get the word about that early. The deadline's actually Friday. So get your people together, 3 to 5 people, or individually.
Friday the
This Friday.
Friday the 21st. Some might be hearing this afterwards.
Oh,
Sorry.
no.
Please still come out.
Show up anyway.
Yes,
and
please.
We'll still have the wheelchairs and the basketball hoops up so you can try it out even if you're not in the tournament. So that'll be the registered event, but there's plenty of other things that you can find to have fun with there.
What is adaptive yoga?
Well, and I've never done it. But they will teach us how to do it at the fest, and they do chair yoga too. So whether you're ambulatory or in a wheelchair, you can do yoga poses while you're in a chair.
I would like to pick up some of the archery stuff.
Yeah, archer is really fun. I always love the Metroparks stuff and being able to shoot things, get some aggression out.
I've never fully immersed myself in one of their setups like this. What are some of the other things that they have for people of all abilities?
So they're going to have the Explorer trolley there, which is accessible as well. You just take a cruise around the park. They're going to have the track chair there, which is really cool. I always compare it. Did you ever play Nintendo? Oh, I already talked about that. Yeah, so it looks like a tank.
Yes.
So you're just in this wheelchair in a tank, and you can just go over tree roots and inclines and everything, and that's really cool. And then we hope everyone will join us at 11 to kick it off with the Disability March, a little path about a half mile to just really showcase disability.
Good. When I do my NAMI walk specifically, I would always say this is a great opportunity for you to dip your toe in the pool of mental health. I know there's stigma. I know there are maybe personal challenges. There's some fear, some fright, whatever you want to do to stop yourself from getting the help that you or someone you care about needs. As you well know, you mentioned this to me when you traveled. There are some people who are just hesitant to be around people with disabilities.
Sure.
Welcome these people who might be uncomfortable to this event.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of yes, we want to welcome people with disabilities, but we also want to welcome people who are not disabled to the disability experience. It's not, you don't need to be uncomfortable or, ashamed, or you don't need to pity people with disabilities. This is just who we are. So we want to share. We're part of this community. 1 in 4 Americans has a disability. And if you don't, you either could at any point in your life, or you probably know a family or friend who has a disability. So we're really inviting everyone to come out and celebrate, whether you have a disability or not. There's always going to be fun things for you to do there.
What are some of the possibly overlooked disabilities that you mentioned in the 1 in 4? Because if I do the math right, that's a little less than 100 million Americans.
So some things, what we call non-visible disabilities, are things like maybe mental health disabilities or chronic pain, or things like MS, or things that you don't see by looking at someone. There could be heart issues or something like that. There's a variety of things that just you might look at someone and you might never see that maybe they have autism or something.
And you mentioned some people you might wind up with a disability at some point. And I'm thinking, we're all going to be old at some point, and we all know people of different old ages, and nothing works as it once did.
If you're lucky, you'll acquire a disability. I'll put it that way.
As opposed to being acquiring death.
Right. If you get old enough, you're going to acquire a disability.
Right. Some of the other fun things, I mentioned food trucks. Is there any other noteworthy things happening during Disabled and Proud Fest, other than it's free, other than the food trucks, but it's going to be a busy afternoon?
So we are going to have sitting volleyball there from one of our vendors. We're going to have...
Let's make sure we say that right.
Sitting volleyball?
Yeah. Sometimes if you flip an H in there,
no.
It's a radio thing of mine.
No, that's a different kind of volleyball.
Yes.
There's a low sensory room inside, which, will be air conditioned as well. So if you need to cool off, it's just... playgrounds, obviously, all the park amenities will be there, so it's just going to be a good day to enjoy.
I guess one important question is, which side of Swan Creek should people come to?
Yeah, good point there. It's going to be the airport highway side, so not Glendale, I think the other one is.
Glendale's your side. And
right.
I thought it might be that one because that's where the play area is.
Yeah, no. There's more room on Airport Highway. Enter in on Airport Highway. There'll be plenty of parking there.
Last question before we wrap up. I missed this in the general things. Is there a place, a thing, a store, a business, a chain that has been universally revered when it comes to doing disability right, to accessibility?
That's a good question.
You're in Minneapolis and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to pull this out of the air here. I'll go there. Because it's Target's home. I know that Target is going to be completely accessible.
So I can't, I don't want to call out, but people with disabilities know, if I'm traveling and I go to the restroom, it's not going to be at a gas station because they're probably not going to be accessible.
Right.
And I can't say that. It's not going to be on a certain fast food chain that is not one of the top 3, because we've sued a lot of those places when I was in private practice.
This is why
I will never stop.
This is why I asked it with a positive way. Are there any that stand out in a positive way?
So some of the fast food chains, I think McDonald's is on a regular renovation schedule.
Okay.
So although we've seen some issues with those, so generally those are a good place to stop and go to the restroom.
Okay. As I am kind of embroiled in, will there be a Sheets across from where I live, or will I not be? And digging up some of their background. And one of the blemishes was I think they got sued for not hiring certain minorities, felony backgrounds and things. It just seemed like they made up some excuses to only hire certain kinds of people. And I was looking in there particularly to see if they hired people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. I hope if they do come to this, well, they will be in this area. I hope that they're one of the places that can widen the scope so that it plays off to other businesses. Hire people who might have a criminal background. Hire people who you might initially, reactionally, instinctively reject. But everybody needs a job. Doesn't make anybody a bad employee. I always think about this lady that Mallory introduced me to down in Culver's, the blind woman. There's a blind woman making kick-ass burgers at Culver's, and she was a great asset to that operation.
And there's a lot of stats about how much of a great asset employees with disabilities are. The retention rates are high. They stay longer. They're better focused. They want to work. So, and the perception of businesses that make it a point to include people with disabilities, profit margins are higher, things like that. So it makes good business sense to hire people with disabilities. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you're thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, ability kind of you never think about that.
Right.
But that's something that, we need to be mindful of. It's not just hire people who, look different, but also people who have different abilities, and, to get rid of those assumptions. Accommodating employees with disabilities is usually free, and it used to be the average was less than $500. Updated, it's less than $300 to accommodate that employee.
There's a sports quote that I like a lot. The best ability is availability. And many people that people hire these days are not available for one reason or another.
Right.
So if somebody is really dying to come to work, figuratively speaking, and you have a great opportunity for them and they're ready to dig in, don't turn anybody away.
Take a chance.
Disabled and Proud Fest Expo, Swan Creek, July 6th, 11 to 4. Again, I think the fastest way, if you want to get the info, text PROUD to 419-240-1055. I've linked it to a keyword so you can just zoom right through the city site to get that.
Great.